Hello there, you're with CNN News 18. I'm Maha Siddiqui. It was in May 2020, bang in the middle of the pandemic, that India was confronted by yet another threat, territorial aggression by China. The Chinese army, PLA, was seen preventing Indian soldiers from patrolling the Pangong Lake in Ladakh. It then emerged that there were more points of friction than one. And while talks have been on for 20 months, India has had to bear a casualty of 20 of its soldiers in Galwan last year. What explains this slow pace of disengagement? Is India being overtly cautious with its neighbor China? And is that emboldening the dragon? Over the next half an hour, we'll try to delve into this critical aspect. But before I head to my guest, let me explain the problem that's at hand for India with number of friction points that continue to remain in eastern Ladakh. The problem that has existed for the last over 20 months now. Let's take a look at some of these friction points. Hot Spring, Gogra, Depsang. These are two of the critical points that continue to be outstanding friction points on which India has been continuously talking with the Chinese side. Remember, there have been 13 rounds of core commander level talks, almost an equal number of talks at the diplomatic level as well, over 10 rounds of WMCC specifically for resolving this issue in eastern Ladakh. There are other points as well. Demchok, another point that remains unresolved. And what have we seen? This entire friction being stretched out now. Clearly, that is the bigger problem for India at the moment. So, 5th May is when it was reported that PLA and Indian troops have clashed in eastern Ladakh. Since then, what have we seen? The friction continuing, its standoff continuing for 562 days and counting. We still haven't seen a resolution on those friction points I was just mentioning. There have been core commander level talks, over 10 of them, 13 rounds to be specific, no breakthrough yet. Diplomatic level talks have also been conducted between the two sides. In fact, one round of the WMCC talks was held today. There have been statements from both sides, India and China, saying they will not aggravate the situation, they will disengage. However, that hasn't come through. Disengagement has been facilitated at Pangong, but the rest of the friction points continue to remain. And that really is the big cause of concern, as we're seeing talks continue, but there is no resolution so far. So the question that we're asking on the show, is a cautious India giving China leeway as far as the boundary issue is concerned? Joining me on the show this evening, Ambassador Rajiv Dogra, former diplomat, Ambassador Sobdan, expert on inner Asian affairs, Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, defense expert, and Manoj Joshi, distinguished fellow, ORF. Let me go across to Ambassador Dogra first, sir. With letting China stretch a friction so long, does India run the risk of China digging in its heels and creating new realities on the ground?
Well, there's no doubt that we are having something extraordinary that we've not had since 1962. In fact, the LAC was remarkable for peace and tranquility. Having said that, I would also say that our policy planners, policy makers, and defense establishment must be doing what they think is in the best national interest. But having taken all this into consideration, I would go ahead and also point to the worries, not just nationally, but also in the international circles, that what really is happening. Is it a case of salami slicing, encouraging a slimy neighbor to continue with what it has achieved and what it has succeeded in achieving? Even if we may not know the full picture, the fact is that satellites in the sky and the electronic measures of various countries, including private companies, make sure that they know every minute, every inch of the game.
Yes.
And the evidence is that China is making strategic inroads in various places, starting from Arunachal Pradesh to Ladakh to Sikkim and even Uttarakhand. Now, the other question that arises is is it possible for India to be on the defensive mode as it has been with Pakistan in terms of terrorism along the LAC and along the international border, which is about 4,000 kilometers, and now with China with another 4,000 kilometers? It is not possible for any country to defend every inch of 8,000 kilometers. So, is defensive posture really the answer to our troubles with China and even Pakistan? Well, I would say no, and most strategic experts are also saying no already. In fact, any number of international media debates on this issue point in the same direction. So, do we have to change our posture? Do we have to have a larger national debate? Or will we decide at the policy level that enough is enough? We cannot continue along the same line.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, it's a question of retreat.
Absolutely, Ambassador Dogra, we'll take that thought forward of whether enough costs are being imposed on China or not. If not, militarily, what are the other means? But before that, let me go across to Lieutenant General Kulkarni. Sir, Ambassador Dogra spoke about how satellites are able to catch the extent of Chinese territorial aggression. Now, the explanation coming for one of those satellite images that have been caught, which show a 100-home village in Arunachal Pradesh by the Chinese, which has also found mention in the Pentagon report, India says that this territory was illegally occupied by the Chinese in 1959. Now, that's exactly what I'm trying to point out, sir. Is China creating new ground realities? The area was illegally occupied way back in 1959, but the village has come up just last year. Isn't this a long-term game China is playing, and shouldn't that be very obvious now as we are dealing with them in eastern Ladakh?
Thank you. I must first say that you mentioned something like that in the last 20 months we've had so many rounds of talks and nothing much has happened. Let me be honest, it's only in the last 20 months or maybe about a decade or a decade plus that the media is so active to know, and there are various means of finding out what exactly is going on ground, and you know exactly what's happening and who's talking to whom and in what manner. But all this, let me be telling you, all this had started in 1950. And right now, and even 20 months back or before that, they were at the door. They are now knocking the door to enter. They've come all the way. They have almost taken 35,000 square kilometers in the eastern Ladakh. They are eyeing what they call South Tibet, 90,000 square kilometers in Arunachal Pradesh. Pakistan has already gifted them 5,180 square kilometers in Shaksgam Valley. So all these kind, again, the way they are eyeing in central sector. So these kind of things, China has been doing it. And let me be telling you, they have settled boundary dispute with every country other than two, that Bhutan and India. With Bhutan, they're already in negotiation. So let's not say what they would do, kind of diplomacy, checkbook diplomacy, or pressurizing Bhutan to submit to the need that they're doing. China believes the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without a fight. And with that, they have time and again said, Xi Jinping has been announcing, whatever belonged to the ancestors, we will ensure that all of it comes to them. What does that signify? Look at the way Xi Jinping has gone about saying, we are not going to hide our capabilities. We are the center of the universe, and now we are here to arrive and we'll do what we want to do. So he is in the mold of Mao Zedong, far close from the barrel of the gun. Now, villages and all these things that we are talking about. Let me be honest with you. I have been posted right opposite the area that you're talking about, Longju. I was at Maza. Okay. Now, if I was at Maza, I didn't see any of these villages over there. And obviously, they are about 2-3 kilometers inside. And yes, it's a fact. 1959, Pandit Nehru took some time in declaring it in the parliament that an incident of this kind has taken place at Longju, where we have lost 2 security personnel. Till then, it wasn't the task of the army to defend the NEFA. It was always with the MHA and the MEA. They were handling it at Assam Rifles. Okay. Subsequently, in 1959, after the Longju incident, the whole area was handed over to the army. Now, these villages and all these kind of things have come. It took China, it would have taken China years on if they were to do anything what they had planned to do in 1962. Now, what have they done? These villages and all these areas have dual purpose infrastructure that has come up with the view to win the hearts and mind of the civilians over there, primarily the Tibetans, so that they can act as the eyes and ears, because the Han population by itself would not be able to do it, because I've been meeting them at Bumla, so I know how much time it takes for them to come from wherever they are. Most of them are Han Chinese. The Han Chinese, the settled population in Tibet or in Xinjiang, whoever we interacted with, were not the kind of people that they would want them to interact with us.
All right.
Having said these villages and all these infrastructures come up, definitely it is in occupied area of India. No doubt. Absolutely no doubt. But yes, in their possession, why are we talking about only Longju? Let's not, don't we talk of Aksai Chin? Why have we not spoken of Pengang So? We are talking Finger 8 and beyond, right up to Connaught Fort. Have you been going? We haven't gone after 1962.
All right.
So all these...
Lieutenant General Kulkarni, I'll interrupt you there. And that is the point that you're making. I'll take with Ambassador Sobdan. Are they trying to legitimize this illegally occupied territory and create new realities, sir?
I think so. You're correct, because they will take one more year till they consolidate the border areas. Perhaps this is to do with the re-election of Xi Jinping as the president, or it could be they're preparing for something else that we cannot find out. But there are material changes that are taking place on their side of the controlled area. I say it can be claimed by us, but we claim POK also. That doesn't mean that Pakistanis are not building dams and roads and other things in the Gilgit-Baltistan. Similarly, the area which is controlled by the Chinese, they are obviously building, and we can do nothing about it unless we go for war. Is the war is an option? I don't know. I don't think that we have been defensive and we have done enough. I stay in Eastern Ladakh and I know the border very well. We are doing a lot of things, construction activities, road infrastructure. It's a massive activities we are also doing. That doesn't mean that we have crossed the line of control or the Chinese have crossed the line of control. There is no confirmation to this. I don't know, Indian Army has told you that they have crossed into the LAC on our side. There is no such thing like that. Now, the area which is controlled by them, whether in Arunachal Pradesh or in the Eastern Ladakh, they are there, they have been there, they've been doing it for a very long time. Material changes, yes. Now they are building new villages. 60 villages already being, special privilege villages they have completed. They're planning to do more, 600 villages more they're likely to construct. They're building, this infrastructure and all old things now. Now they've got a new border law.
Yes, exactly.
That's another addition.
Yes.
And I think the Chinese are likely to launch insurgency war now. I don't see direct conflict now. In the months to come, we could see in Northeast, in Manipur recently, there's a clear hand of the Chinese to restart the proxy war after 44 years. Deng Xiaoping stopped it in 1978. Now they want to revive it. It's a low-cost option. Low-intensity war.
Sobdan, that's why we are asking the question, what cost is India imposing? Because they are creating, as you yourself and the other panelists agree, some sort of new ground realities by legitimizing this occupied territory as well, having villages over there, coming into creating friction points in Depsang, Gogra, Hot Springs. That is what we've seen at the moment. Manoj Joshi, just a second, sir. Let me go across to our other panelists. Manoj Joshi, in Dushanbe, and before that as well, last year on the sidelines of the SCO summit, Jaishankar met with his counterpart, Chinese counterpart, and it was made clear, at least from the Indian statement, it was apparent that the issue was raised to the extent of this friction in Eastern Ladakh having a fallout on the bilateral ties. Now, some apps were banned in India, Chinese apps, but the trade went up between the two sides in the same year as we saw the friction, which was in favor of China itself. What costs are we imposing? I mean, if the trade is going up, if everything else is hunky-dory, why will China look at resolving the friction?
Well, I think that's a good question, which actually puts across the fact that we are dealing with a very complex situation. I think the first and foremost, you have to realize that the entire Sino-Indian border is not an international border. I think I've seen the story on this NDTV website, and they claim it's an international boundary. It's not. Because an international boundary is something which is decided on by both sides.
That's right.
They have to get together, negotiate, and make it. Now, in this case, there's a line of actual control. So I think the army's response has been pretty fair. They said that it is on their side of the line of actual control. It's a fact. So I think sensationalizing it beyond the point is not fair. The second point I'd like to make, and I think Professor Stobdan referred to that, that since 2017, the Chinese have taken a specific policy of constructing some 628, what they call well-off border villages. So they're going to construct these right across the line of actual control. They have announced it. What is remarkable is the very speed with which they are building. Today's story itself, in 2019, there's nothing there. And in September, there's already a full-fledged village. Now, the problem with this, and I think, again, Professor Stobdan will understand this issue, that in the hill areas, in the kind of areas we're talking about, life is extremely difficult. And on both sides of the border, the people are facing what is called depopulation. No one wants to live there. I know I come from the mountain areas. People just want, there are deserted villages in parts of Kumaon, Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, etc. No one wants to live in those in those areas. So the government has to have a special policy. So what the Chinese government, being very, kind of centralized and authoritarian, has decided that we're going to make these 628 villages, and they're making them. See. So to their credit,
Manoj Joshi, shouldn't that get us thinking that if people themselves do not want to settle in this area, why would there be a concerted effort to get people and settle in those areas? Certainly, then...
That is for strategic reasons. That is obviously... Obviously, you see, the thing is that when that party congress happened in 2017, October, just after the party congress, Xi Jinping wrote a letter which was publicized to a herder family, Tibetan herder family, congratulating them for upholding the banner of Tibet and upholding the banner of China and living in very difficult circumstances. Now, the point is that if you want to claim an area, if you want to claim that this is my territory and this is not your territory, what you do is you show signs of habitation. Habitation is one way of doing it. And what the Chinese have done is that they have systematically decided to build these villages, habitate them. In our case, and again, Stobdan will bear me out, we actually discouraged Tibetan herders from going forward in the line of actual control, and we lost very valuable grazing land, which was taken up by the Chinese. Now you're asking me, what is it that we should do? The final, you repeated the question, what is the options? I think first and foremost, the option is we have to do self-strengthening. Unless India gets its act together in terms of its economy, and there's a big problem there. There's a big problem in our society. The focus seems to be more on dividing society rather than focusing on larger issues of development that we confront. And unless and until we are able to generate those kind of surpluses like the Chinese do, you can't invest them in transforming the region, the border region.
Okay, let me go back to Ambassador Dogra, and then I'll go to Master Stobdan as well for the points that you've raised, Manoj Joshi. Ambassador Dogra, first of all, as far as the issue of these villages is concerned, which we are discussing right now, and Manoj Joshi just pointed out that this is on their side of the LAC. But if I can just read out what the Ministry of External Affairs said in its briefing on Thursday, they said that as we had stated then, China has undertaken construction activities in the past several years along the border areas, including in areas that it has illegally occupied over decades. That is what I want to ask Ambassador Dogra. Illegally occupied areas is where they are building these villages. Today, we are seeing a similar situation in eastern Ladakh. They're not building infrastructure there, but there are friction points from where they have refused to budge for 20 long months. Do we run a similar risk of these areas, these portions becoming what they could at some stage say disputed, even though India has been pushing for early resolution, and that doesn't seem to have happened?
Well, Maha, I must congratulate you. You've done your work very well. And what you quoted is as official as it can get. When Ministry of External Affairs of the Government of India says that China have illegally occupied a certain area, be it 1 square foot or 1 square meter or 100 square miles, they are the ones who are the last word on this issue. So my debating with anyone on your panel or even outside carries no weight at all. External Affairs has said that yes, China has been in illegal occupation since 1959. The Government of India has engaged in almost 20 rounds or 19 rounds of military and diplomatic level talks in Ladakh with the Chinese. They have engaged in those talks because they want the disengagement of the areas that Chinese have illegally occupied. So if our graziers have been stopped from going into the traditional pastures, they were going in Indian areas. Were they going in Chinese areas? So who stopped them? The Chinese have stopped them. So again, an area where Chinese have made their entry or possession or whatever illegally. Is Aksai Chin in India, or has China illegally occupied 38,000 odd square kilometers? So the hard and harsh facts are that China has done us dirty. I don't want to debate further on this, that I belong to Ladakh, so I know every square inch of this. I belong to Delhi, I don't know what is happening in East Delhi or West Delhi. We have to go by what government says. And government is rightly worried that yes, we have come under pressure, we have a situation which China has occupied our territory, and more seriously, if they have been in occupation since 1959, for whatever reason, whichever government was there, their continuation there, and if the government had accepted that fact instead of rebutting it and protesting about it, then it would mean that we accept their 1959 claim line all over. So these are serious issues.
Okay.
Let's not be flippant and let's not debate saying that no, we are right, we know every square inch.
Lieutenant General Kulkarni, in your view, sir, why is India not able to push China for what it repeatedly calls early resolution of the friction points? We repeatedly see this phrase coming up after the WMCC talks. We also hear about it after the co-commander level talks. But India is unable to push China on critical friction points like Depsang. What is the strategic value of this point, sir?
See, Maha, what happens is that all these friction points that we are talking about have been there. That is number one. Number two, to be able to resolve the resolution of all these friction points would be at what Chinese want. Is that what we want? Definitely not that we want. So therefore, any resolution would have to be done at what the Chinese want, which is impossible. Which is just impossible. And therefore, you cannot. Appeasement with China is not the way forward. With China, it is to be able to deal with a position of strength. And that position of strength is not going to be so easy to come by. And therefore, if they're holding on to this area and allowing the Chinese, why are the Chinese pressurizing us? It is because they realize it that much what they have done since 1950, they have not succeeded in wanting to get what they want.
All right.
And therefore,
okay. I'll have Lieutenant General Kulkarni, I'll have to interrupt you. We have the last 30 seconds, so I want to give one more turn to Professor Topdan. Professor Topdan, is this hesitation from India something that the Chinese have read, and that is why they're using that to their advantage?
Yes, to my understanding, they know Ladakh much more than I do. They know very accurately what is happening within Ladakh. They have a lot of people, I mean to say a lot of Tibetans inside. I'm not saying those Tibetans are Chinese spy, but they have the feel of what's happening in Ladakh.
Okay.
What has been happening here in Ladakh is that we have been denomadizing that area. the Chinese are doing now nomadizing and urbanizing those border areas.
All right.
We have urban area only in Leh. Now our urban policy is not synced with our border policy. Prime Minister comes out with Ujjwala Yojana, which means gas to everybody, which is only done in Leh city. So everybody from the border area, border villages flock to the cities.
Okay.
So the border areas are almost empty now.
All right.
Maybe one.
I'll have to leave it at that, sir. We've completely run out of time. I know that this discussion can go on. This is something critical at the moment, what we are seeing emerging with China, and several rounds of talks still have not been able to help accomplish disengagement at the friction points in eastern Ladakh. This has been going on for the last 20 months and has now assumed very worrying proportions. Many thanks to all our panelists for joining us here on the show.